What's up, everyone? In this video, I'm going to be doing an unboxing of the new Furitek RTR. It's the 1/18th scale FX-118. It's a brushless motor and ESC out of the box. Has metal gears, oil-filled shocks that are adjustable, portal axles on it, Furitek's LCG chassis for the it's a CR18 base, but has a bunch of upgrades to it, and it's going to be running the Furitek Lizard Pro ESC, as well as the Furitek Venom brushless motor. So let's go ahead and get into this. I got the red version of this. And out of the box, we have our instruction manual. Looks like there's some mirrors in here, some extra springs, a front bumper, and a battery charger, as well as, of course, the instructions. Got some foam pieces in here. And we have our truck and our transmitter. So comes with, I think it says 1.2-inch wheels on there and some tires. Tires feel pretty sticky. I can't tell. There might be some foam in there, but we can check it out because they are bead locks, although they feel pretty soft as far as if there were foam in there. But there might be because they're vented. You can hear them squeak in there. So they might actually be... they might actually have some foam in there because they seem to go back to a normal size. So, comes all wrapped in plastic to make sure everything's nice and clean. Looks like there are some body pins on here. So let's take a look at it's got a normal kind of bumper mount there. Looks like it has lighting running to all these lights up top here. Doesn't look like any tail lights on it. It's a pretty heavy truck out of the box, actually. Has portal axles. It looks like it has all hex Allen screws. Some kind of beefy spacers there for the shocks. That's interesting. So let's get this body off and take a look at everything. It is a Lexan body, not a hard body. Definitely need to put some little tabs on these body pins because they are really small and hard to pull out of there. So let's see, this is plugged in right now. Get this unplugged. So just a single plug for the lights, and the 4 lights up top there. Not sure what color those are. Quite a bit of play in there, forward and back, before the gears catch, but probably not an issue. You can see we have that Furitek Venom motor right there. Not sure what the power rating is on there or anything. Looks like a new Lizard Pro case, maybe. I don't know if that's specific to the RTR, if they're going to start offering that for the Lizard Pro. But it just looks like a normal Lizard Pro in there without any heat shrink on it. Then you got the aluminum caps on the shocks, and it looks like these are adjustable coilovers. Doesn't feel like there's any oil in the shocks, but that's normal. There might be like a drop or two in there, but that's normal on RTRs. They typically don't come with oil in them. Lots of adjustability for your rear upper links, a little bit of adjustability for the front uppers, a ton of adjustability for the shocks. It looks like there is some scratching on this one, but that's all right because this thing's going to get scratched up anyway. And they've definitely had something, they've played around with the shocks, it looks like, with where they're mounted out of the box. Yeah, because the shocks were, you can see it, they were originally mounted down here on this one. But nice, solid, I believe that's aluminum chassis rails there. And everything else seems pretty normal for a truck. Let's see what size battery this comes with. Let's see, no, 600 milliamp battery. It does have the single speed transmission, but it is all metal gears inside here, according to the box. But yeah, overall this looks really, really nice. It's nice to see something that's super adjustable right out of the box. It's not something that we've seen on any other RTRs as far as I know, having all this adjustment and tunability, as well as oil-filled shocks. I mean, everything on here kind of ticks all the boxes. Kind of wish the shock and lower links were not connected together. Would be nice to see separate mounts for those, but that's all right. We'll have to pull these portals apart, see if we have metal gears in the portals as well as the differential. But so far looks pretty good. Let me get some batteries for the transmitter and get this battery charged up, and we'll take a look at slow crawl and stuff like that. I'll also get into the Furitek app for the speed controller, because this does have Bluetooth built into it, so it will connect to their app, and you can tune it and make adjustments based on how you want the truck to perform, and do throttle curves and all sorts of stuff. I've done a couple of other of my trucks have Furitek ESCs on them, and they're really nice to be able to tune them right there on your phone. But yeah, I'll go ahead and get all that and be right back. While I'm waiting for this battery to charge, I went ahead and got the mirrors put on there and the front bumper put on. Honestly, front bumper looks a little big for my taste for this thing. I'm probably going to run it without the bumper on there, so it sits very wide. I'm thinking it probably should have come to about right here, just to meet with the fenders. But, you know, that's all just personal preference. With the bumper installed, it does fit pretty tight on these front body posts, because the front of the body down here actually hits the bumper mounting posts that are on there. But it will work, it's just a little bit tight. Something else that I noticed with it when I was just messing around with it, when you fully flex one direction, the servo does hit on the frame rails, and you can see it's actually binding on there. Probably not that big of a deal when you're out on a trail. It's going to move around. Also, the springs that it comes with a hard set of springs. I guess if you start running like a hard body or something on here and need a little bit of extra spring rate, that's for that. But these springs that are in here are actually pretty stiff as it is. So I think once I get them set in a little bit more, be a little bit softer, I think it'll flex a little bit nicer, because right now, like, it'll either stay fully up. If I go down with it, it stays fully down. But that could also just be that I need to fill the shocks with oil and get those set up properly. And with the weight of the battery in there, it does help with the spring movement a little bit as well. Started looking everything over in here. This is just a case with the Lizard Pro inside there. You can see the switch for it is back here to turn everything on. I haven't fully disassembled it, but I'm assuming that means that the Bluetooth connector is probably sitting inside there as well. But yeah, pretty simple Furitek radio. Was looking at the radio on here. You have a lot of adjustment on there, which is really nice. Your bind button, your connection LEDs, and then you also have your reverse buttons up here. Some other settings that go there. You have, it's a 4-channel radio, so you got your 4th channel. You got some options for your 3rd channel there. Just a plastic wheel on there. All your links and everything are plastic. These are definitely going to be getting changed out for some metal parts. Just like the normal plastic links, lots and lots of flex in those. So end up binding up on rocks somewhere, and this isn't going to go anywhere. The servo seems pretty smooth just from moving it around this way. It's just all plastic, lots of very simple stuff, but we'll see once we get it running how that is. Figure get these wheels off of here too. Once you pull them off, they have these caps on here that I don't actually have the tool big enough to get them off, so I have to use the one that's provided in the kit. I'm very curious to see if there's foam inside these tires or not. But I don't know if these are just caps that cover, yep, these are just caps that cover the actual wheel nut. It's a 5 millimeter axle nut on there, or wheel nut on there. Just some 1.5 millimeter Allen screws on the back to take it apart. And so far every screw that I've encountered on this truck has been 1.5 millimeters, so that's nice. There are a couple of Phillips head screws on the front for the servo and steering links, but those the servo will most likely get changed out for something a little stronger. I mean, I'll figure that out once I actually start driving it around, but I have a feeling I'll be putting something stronger on here. Once I get this wheel apart, I'll run through a couple of other things that I noticed on here that we'll see how they hold up over some use. So yeah, just pretty simple bead lock. And yep, there are some foams in here. Some super lightweight foams. They feel like they would just fall apart. Very small, thin, super soft. So I'll get these put back together. It's all plastic bead locks, no metal ring or anything. I'm not sure if there are any rings that will fit on the inside of this, but we'll most likely be going with some different wheels and tires on here anyway. Not a fan of the 1.2 inch wheels on these trucks. I just don't like the way they look. That's, again, just a personal preference. But, oh, these tires are actually directional, and they are pointed all sorts of different directions, so I'll have to go through those. They're not all facing the same way. There's one going one way, one going another. Get the wheel done later. So, the drive shaft in there, a lot of play. They're just plastic drive shafts, of course. And then this piece looks like it moves around pretty freely in there and does not feel like it's a very long section in there to make sure there's nice support. So this has a lot of play in it. The front one just has a little bit. It's not a lot of play in there. Already pointed out that the steering links are very soft plastic. The suspension links actually feel pretty tough. The back has a little bit of flex, but not terrible. But yeah, so far everything is looking pretty good on this truck. Get this wheel back together and I'll get the battery charged and then just run through a couple of functions on it. Alright, so got the battery charged up. Got some batteries in the transmitter. It's 4 AAA batteries in the transmitter. Those are not included, but relatively easy to get. Honestly, this battery strap probably isn't needed for the battery that comes with the truck because this thing holds in there super tight, but since it's there, have it on. So first thing you want to do is power everything up, turn on your transmitter, and then the switch for the Lizard Pro is back here. That'll turn the whole truck on. Makes its beeps. I already connected mine to the Furitek app. In order to connect it, you'd have to go in, turn Bluetooth on and everything, and the password for connecting to the car is 1234, and then it'll sync with your car here. So right now it's running a servo output of 5 volts. I'm going to change that to, well, no, I'll keep it 5. According to the instruction manual, this servo can handle 6 volts, but the BEC doesn't do, the internal BEC doesn't do 6 volts, it's only 5 or 6.5. I don't want to burn the servo out, so we'll leave it at 5 for now. Voltage cutoff, I like to run mine at 3.4 volts for my voltage cutoff. All of this is okay, I believe. We can kind of check that. So when I go forward, wheels go forward, go backwards, wheels go backwards. So that's what rotation direction is. And power startup, I like to do high on my power startup. Keep everything at 100 for forward and reverse. For max brake, that's really up to you. Drag brake, it doesn't have that currently on. My power FOC, I keep at 30. Drag brake, you can kind of do whatever you want there. Just test it out, see what works best for you. I keep a very low drag brake. These brushless motors have really good holding power to where you really don't even have to use a drag brake, but you have it there. So a couple of things you can do. You can look at telemetry. You can see where your throttle's at, how much RPM you're getting, as well as what percentage of power is going to it. So running, that's what we were just in. It's set up forward and reverse. You can also set it up where it's forward reverse with a brake, or forward with a brake and no reverse. That would be more of a comp setup if reversing isn't allowed in your comps. So that way you don't actually have the ability to go backwards with it. So it'll save you from getting points deducted, and reverse on the transmitter would just act as a brake instead of a reverse. If you do forward reverse with brake, if you're going forward and you push to go backwards, it'll put the brake on and it won't go in reverse until you release the throttle and then go to reverse again, and then it will allow it to go backwards. I personally just like forward reverse. So throttle tuning, you have your punch settings. You can calibrate, which right now I have nothing going to it and it is saying that I am at 2%, but that could also be from the trims on here. So throttle trim is actually off slightly, and that's what it was. Throttle trim wasn't set to 0. So it's showing that I'm doing 100 when I'm doing 100, or negative 100 when I'm going reverse. So that's working properly. Punch, you can kind of mess with for your low speed and neutral brake and punch and everything. You can mess around with this and tune it to how you like it. I leave it alone because it performs pretty well. Throttle curve. This is where you can make some actually noticeable changes for how your truck performs. So you can also set it specific to forward and reverse. So your reverse will perform a little bit different than your forward. So if you notice that you're getting too much power straight from the start, you can make it so that, or if your throttle's too sensitive for you, this is a very small transmitter, so you don't have a lot of throw between 100% forward and reverse. So if you want to adjust this, you can make it so that you have a little bit less power as you bring the throttle on, and as you get up higher into the throttle, you can you'll get more out of it. So say I bring this one to, there we go. So say I want this to be, when it's at 10% throttle, my power is only at 5%. And when it's at 30% throttle, my power is only 20%. And say I bring it up to 35% throttle. At 50% throttle, my power is at 50% right here, but say I want to bring that down to 40%. Kind of get the idea. Give yourself a nice curve here so that when you're on the throttle initially, it doesn't jump on you, which in competition settings, if you're going to be comping, that's actually nice to not have a super jumpy throttle, because you can get fine adjustments and movements out of it without running the risk of jumping forward or backwards. So have that. Some other things that you can do, you got firmware updates that you can check on here. Car type is a crawler on here. It has a brushless motor. You can set this up to be brushed as well. It's already set up for the Venom motor because it's all Furitek everything. They have their settings already in here so that it knows what the motor is, how much power it should be getting, things like that. Temperature, you can change units. So if you're looking at your temperature of your motor, you can change to Celsius and Fahrenheit. And yeah, so there's some other things that are in there. You can do a factory reset. You can change the password, change the Bluetooth name. And yeah, so that's about it with everything that's in here. Throttle curve we already looked at. If you swipe left or right, you can adjust your forward and reverse manually. I have it set to where forward and reverse are the same right here. So I get the same throttle curve for both. Let's see, running, we looked at everything there. And telemetry. Now it's starting to show, since I've done a few things, you can watch my throttle curve as I'm coming onto the throttle. Starts to pick up. And then I get 100% out of it. So RPM there is times 1,000. So right now it's running at 2,300 RPM, a little more than that. Times 100, sorry. So not times 1,000. You can look at your motor temp as well as your voltage that you have. Right now I'm at 7.7 volts, 7.8, it's bouncing up and down. But yeah, this would also be able to run on 3S because, so it comes with 2S battery. It can run on 3S though with the Lizard Pro, and the motors are rated for it. And because it has BEC, it will still only run that 5 volts to the front, to the servo. Or if you upgrade the servo, you can also run it at 6.5 volts with this setup. So just a quick rundown of connecting to the Furitek app and kind of going through your settings. A lot of it is just playing with it to figure out what you like best, and figuring out how you like the truck to react to you and what you're doing. So there's just a little bit of info there. Gonna get this body put back on here and just kind of see what it's like with the slow crawl, and maybe throw a couple of things up here to show how the FOC works and everything, get an idea of how these tires go. Servo's actually got some good speed to it, even at 5 volts. So with the brushless setup, you can do things like this. A super, super slow crawl, and when you put things in front of it for it to climb over, it will continue to go at that same speed. So put something there, go super slow with it, and the motor will just continue to run at that same speed with the FOC technology, regardless of what comes in front of it or how much resistance it gets. The tires just keep going at that same speed, which is nice. As far as speed, I'm on a table right now, so this is not going to be getting full power, but it's spinning tires on here, so it's got some pretty good wheel speed to it. As you can see, it kind of jumps in reverse, so I'm gonna have to adjust the throttle curve there, get a little bit better throttle control in reverse, because it is a little bit jumpy, as a lot of these trucks are when it comes to reversing them. But let's get a little size comparison going. So we have, this is says it's an 18th scale. Have the FMS here to go next to it. Looks pretty much the same scale. And then a kind of stretched 1/24 comp truck there. So you can definitely see the size difference. Let me get them this way. Definitely see the size difference there. But I'd say it's pretty darn close to an 18th scale. I can pull out my TRX-4M over here. It's got a trailer attached to it right now. But TRX-4M is pretty much spot on 1/18th scale for this truck. So you can see Power Wagon next to it, looks pretty close to that same scale. But yeah, it's good size. I'm actually really liking these 18th scales over the 24th scale. I think performance-wise, the SCX24 is still like one of the trucks to beat if you're trying to set up a performance vehicle. It's hard to beat them. I'm very curious to see how this truck does, considering that it has a low center of gravity chassis already, has big bore shocks that are oil filled, has a lot of the things that you'd want. Tire wise, they seem pretty soft. I'm definitely going to run them and see how they do. When I do run them though, I'm going to bring another set of wheels and tires that I know perform really well and swap them out and see what the difference is, because I have a feeling that's going to be one of the things that might hold this truck back, as well as the fact that it sits kind of high with those portals. So it does have the portal axles on there, which gives it a lot of ground clearance, but also makes it a little bit top heavy. And those tires and wheels are super, super light. So I have a feeling I'm going to need a little bit more weight, so some aluminum wheels are definitely going to help it out. Other plans, if I like how this truck performs, I'm going to look into some aluminum links, high clearance links, as well as steering links. Maybe some aluminum portal axles, but we'll see how the truck performs. It's going to be tough for it to keep up with something like this, which I have set up for competitions. So I'm going to try and get it to do a lot of the stuff that this little truck can do, but this little truck has been able to keep up with some of my 1/10 scale trucks on some trails. So it's going to be a tall order for it to match that. But I'm very curious to see how this does out on a trail, just with, it has a lot going for it, and I think it's going to be pretty cool. One thing that I just realized is the lighting didn't come on. Oh, because I didn't have it plugged in. All right, so there we go. For whatever reason, it was just having a little trouble plugging in. Got it in there though. There is no function on the lights. You can switch back and forth. I've tried plugging it in multiple ways and into 3 or 4. Still don't get anything out of it. That's all right though. If I find something in the instructions that says how to control the lights, like maybe it's a different option somewhere, I will definitely put that information out there, but I don't believe it's going to have anything. I'm definitely looking forward to getting this thing out on the rocks and giving it some testing. Hopefully that video will be coming out soon, but for now, thanks for watching this. If you have any questions, comments, likes, or you know how that goes, questions or comments, you can definitely leave those for me. Thanks everyone for watching.